Well, I'll miss you.
To construct our trailer, we needed to research an efficient amount to understand the codes and conventions associated with our genre. Our research came from films like Taken and The Call, where we gathered specific features of the film and applied it to our trailer, which consisted of locations, characters, props, and more. The planning was fixed on how efficient our research was, so the type of gun to use and what would make a good location to set the trailer. The Sony camera was used to capture 90% of our footage, whilst the other 10% was filmed using an iPhone 6. The footage was successfully put together for our film due to the choice of camera lens, where we were able to make quality shots. Prior to learning about the extreme zoom lens, we used a standard lens to collect most of our filming. However, we found that the extreme zoom lens allowed us to improve our camera shots. This technique included extreme close-up, focus point, and changing the depth of field. In terms of software, we used Final Cut Pro to edit our trailer. This software allowed us to drag, cut, color correct, and apply filters and more. To establish the relationship between the husband and wife, we thought it would be a good idea to record photo frames around the house. This idea was used to show the homely atmosphere but also foreshadow the terror through the happy pictures, which demonstrated a thriller atmosphere. It took us quite some time to achieve a smooth pan, but it did not go to plan, therefore we used a stabilizer key. We noticed Taken had used a split screen in their trailer. We thought it was effective to use the same. We used a split screen in the opening of our trailer during the call between the couple, followed by Claire being kidnapped, the key event. This split screen was done by laying the footage on top of each other. Next, I had to use the crop, distort and transform tool to play the clips simultaneously, side by side as a split screen. When shooting the underwater scene for the montage, we added red food colouring to the bath full of water. Unintentionally, we poured the whole of the food colouring in the bathtub, and to our surprise, it created a sinister and mysterious atmosphere to the shot. We decided to use this for the background when addressing the quote, "Family is everything," to the audience. To use this shot in the most efficient way, we cropped the shot so it was zoomed in to manipulate it into looking like blood. Some of the footage we collected made us contemplate its significance, mainly because of how lengthy it was. The longer the clip, the more boring it becomes. For example, one significant event was of an establishing shot of London, with Hugo in the frame. We needed to include this shot for the audience to notice Hugo looking over London to symbolise his hunt for his wife. As this was an important key for the film, I had to adjust the colours, brightness and speed up the clip for a rapid shot to sync in with the second third of the trailer. As for shooting footage for our trailer, it's always better to have a selection of shots and different types of footage to set the narrative. For example, we had great footage of one of the villains approaching his car and sitting in there. After putting the footage on the timeline, we gathered that it had no meaning to it and the audience would get confused. So we applied a filter which involves a POV shot through binoculars to show that Hugo is watching him. Hopefully the use of communication was improved by this filter. Continuity doesn't necessarily have to flow because it's a trailer, with a number of snapshots of what you'll expect to see in a film, but using these shots in chronological order. We included some continuity editing in a few number of areas where Final Cut Pro assisted me with the blade tool so the continuity wasn't broken. For example, Hugo is seen torturing a man by shoving his head underwater. First we see a high angle shot as Hugo pushes him down, then we cut to an extreme close-up of the villain's face using a waterproof phone case. For the clips that were too long to include but had raw footage to contribute towards, we decided to edit them in the style of a jump cut. I used two techniques to portray a jump cut. The first technique I used was the blade tool to cut out the time wasted from one action move to another and keep the action shots, so you'd see a jumpy edit of action after action. The second technique was to use regular time intervals for this clip. For this clip I used 1 second regular intervals and then deleted the clip after each second. Another way to handle prolonged clips was to just simply crop the clip down to duration. For example, the flying car was from an animation app which was not particularly realistic in terms of colour and lighting. Therefore, in order to maximise its effectiveness, we had to crop the clip completely so it was quick and snappy to make it harder to realise the footage was fake. Towards the end of the trailer, it included a montage with a series of shots to excite the audience. One technique that we used was the blackout, which was in sync with the soundtrack. I did this by searching the solid section and apply the colour black to the timeline. I had to make sure the duration of the black was synchronised with the soundtrack and followed it with an action clip. For the last piece of footage, I thought it would be appropriate to manipulate the effect of the person just waking up. We did this by duplicating the clip, layering it and then delaying one of them so it follows the following one, giving the illusion that the person is unable to focus properly. One of the most important things that we needed to do was add sound effects to emphasize the jump cuts, gunshots, and all titles and fighting. These sound effects were encrypted through the software on the bottom right. We used sound effects such as impacts, clashes, broken glass, and gunshots. We then put it on the timeline in the appropriate place to add a realistic effect for shots like guns and broken glass. We also added sound effects of thunder at the beginning to set the atmosphere to gloomy and dull light. When creating our evaluation, I used a screen recording tool from QuickTime Player so we could capture step-by-step instructions of how we made our film. We also used the green screen for our audience feedback and then attached the trailer on the bottom left so we could see what they're watching and how they're reacting. And we also used interactive videos where we were in character and finished it off by using